Alright, so if for some reason you don't have a light or dark deck yet that you can use for this event, I got a couple budget options for you. The first one is Counter Fairies again. I suggested this deck for the last event, the Fiend Fairy, and it's mostly the same that you can... the build is mostly the same in this light dark versus dark event. Now the thing is, you could... but probably the best way to play this is to just like scum this event and just only play in duels where you win the die roll and go first. Because those are the games, it's probably going to be the quickest to do the event that way. And this deck is so much better going first than going second, and there's no really downsides for surrendering. So if you really just want to speed through the event and spend as little gems as possible, I would suggest doing that. You notice I'm putting in 3 evenly matched just to give it a slight modicum of possibly an ability to go second, because you have about 1, 2, 3, 6 pots, 7 pots, my bad. 7 pots to be able to consistently get the evenly matched. So you should see this most games in most hands anyways. But sometimes, you know, evenly matched, if all they leave is a DP on the field, it might not be enough. So, well, yeah. But anyway, this is, you don't need any URs for this. I will mention a couple URs that, if you happen to have them, they will improve this deck drastically. But overall, if you just want to, again, just go first, speed through this event, this is all you need. 3 Bountiful Artemis, 3 Power Angel Valkyria. This is basically Artemis search, and whenever you negate something with a counter trap, you just search Artemis, so you ensure between these two, you ensure you have Artemis by your second turn. And Sacred Air Knight Parshaft, this is this does piercing and it searches a counter trap when it does battle damage. This is what you summon off of Rebirth of Parshaft. We'll get to the counter traps part later. 3 Guiding Ariadne, it just basically makes your counter traps have no cost, and in a pinch, you could just sack this card or set it, and hopefully it gets destroyed, and you add more counter traps, or you have multiple of this. You know, it's a viable way to get your quote-unquote engine going that way, although that's very slow, and you probably won't live if you're just setting Guiding Ariadne, so keep that in mind. They're running the maximum pots available. Just 1 Extravagance is limited, so you run 3 pot desires, you don't really care about banishing stuff. These traps I'll get to later. I'll cover evenly matched. The counter traps. So these are the cheapest. This is the cheapest, most effective counter trap line without URs. So the Solemn Judgment is from the bundle, and it's limited anyway, so you don't need more than that. Divine Wrath, Chaos Trap Hole, Light and Dark Event. So this is just free real estate. 3 Solemn Morning, which is like 3 more Chaos Trap Holes. 3 more Solemn Judgment. 3 Solemn Judgment. That this card is insane. This is the best card in your deck. It's an Omni Negate where, as long as you have a counter trap in your hand, you reveal the counter trap. Then you discard any card. It doesn't have to be the same counter trap. So you only need 1 counter trap in hand to use as many copies of this as possible. It negates the effect, shovels the card back in the deck, then you special summon a Parshaft. So you would summon this, or if this was banished or you already have it in hand, you would summon one of these Parshafts here. These don't really matter, these are just statistics that are free summons. And this is not a once per turn. So if you have multiple Rebirth of Parshaft, your opponent's not doing anything. And Dynamorphia Shell, this is basically just a better negate attack. This summons a 3k defense, and your opponent can't attack anything but that. And I'm pretty sure you can use it for Link Summon after too. While you control that monster, if you do the... Yeah, so it just gets you a token monster that they have to attack, and it's 3k defense, so it's backed up with other counter traps. It's hard to kill you through that. And the extra deck does not matter whatsoever. The only thing that matters is the 3 Avenging Knight Parshafts as things you summon off of Rebirth of Parshaft. Everything else is literally whatever the hell you want. You probably will never go into any of these whatsoever. So yeah, back to the non-counter traps, the Prideful Roar, Lost Wind, Ice Dragon Prison. So the idea with this deck is going second, right? You ideally resolve evenly match, which you have very high access to with your 7 pots. And then the 3 cards here are meant to deal with the last card, the last thing that they leave on board. It's just usually the most annoying monster that they have. So these cards are outs to that one specific thing they leave on boards, and then you don't have to worry about, because Artemis only has 1600 attack. So if they just leave a 1700 attack monster on board, and then you set counter traps, it doesn't do anything because they can just enter battle phase, attack over your Artemis, and you lose all your advantage. So these 3 are cards to help remove the final monster from their board post evenly, so that you can remove all the threats. But again, if you don't want to go second with this deck, I understand, and you just want to cut these, you can just play any 6 counter traps that you own. It could be Forced Back, it could be Dark Bribe, it could be Magic Jammer, Magic Drain, anything you want. And the things I would suggest are the next best things I think that really help this deck are, if you own them, Solemn Strike is obviously the best counter trap. Like it just is. It's negates any monster effect, basically free. I mean, 1500 attack, and half the time it is free of Ariane. And then if you happen to own copies of Honest is really nice because you can actually search Honest with Power Angel Valkyria. So you can negate something and then search an Honest for battle protection so that they can't run over your monsters for the turn. And then they have to play into your back row instead of just enter battle phase and try to deal with you before you generate advantage. So yeah, an Honest and a Solemn Strike, and then whatever counter traps you have. If you happen to have like Draco Utopian Aura, this is pretty nice too. This is just more copies of Solemn Strike, except it only works on monster effects on the field, but it should be fine. Not fine, you just want to open a high amount of counter traps. But again, if you're playing this deck, you're probably playing it as a budget deck, so you don't have this UR, so I just went with the Evenly package. And then any 3 more counter traps, or any trap you think it's good enough to deal with something like a DPE or Lady Labyrinth on board. Back, let's look at the available counter traps. Yeah, you could run Drop Off, Wiretap as an anti-evenly measure. I'm not sure how common that is. You know, this isn't like last event. Labyrinth is not tier 0, so you're gonna face a lot of decks that aren't trap decks. But yeah, fill out any of these. These are the last 3 counter traps are the least impactful ones because you already filled it out with already checked for the best counter traps to run. And yeah, if you have a debunk's not bad. Dark Bribe, yada yada. Yeah, something like this. This won't cost you any ultra rares to play this. Here's the other budget deck that I've been eyeing. It's Crusadia Mekk-Knight, quote unquote Crusadia, with 3 Crusadia monsters. Just hear me out. So I took a bit of liberties on the URs, and that included Imperm and Called By, because I figured most players should already have these if they have any sort of decks already, or have been playing Master Duel for a while, because these are just generic staples. And I'm not even convinced that Call By is even that good, to be honest, but if there are going to be a lot of tier decks that you face, because you're only facing dark decks, so if you do face tier, then obviously Called By is great against them. But yeah, as you can see, this is just standard Mekk-Knight strategy, where you blind second, obviously. Then you either between your hand traps or your kaijus, you weaken their board enough, because I'm not sure how strong many boards are going to be in this event, especially if you're, and especially early on in an event when people don't have optimized builds. So yeah, you could potentially just very easily crack your opponent's boards with this deck. If you draw a Crusadia Maximus, you can go for OTK lines where you go Magia, special summon something like a Kaiju or a Mekk-Knight to a zone, go into Link Climb up and to do a Equimax, and then the Equimax is how you kill your opponent turn 1. But you don't have to kill your opponent turn 1, because this the Mekk-Knight cards have decent grind after you break your opponent's board. You have control over the columns with World Legacy Secrets and Mekk-Knight movie shifty guy, to where you could be able to negate key cards your opponent has, and it's really hard to play around. Especially since you can just move this, because this guy just moves willy-nilly, and Purple Nightfall comes back in any column you want it to. And yeah, this is a deck that's also greatly improved if you own staples. But what the cards, the main core of this deck is really cheap. It's mainly just SRs, and the URs are not even the important ones. But if you have generic staples, it boosts the power level dramatically, because this is a going second deck. So if you have better cards to help you go second, obviously that's going to improve your results. So the cards are Gamma package, because Gamma is an SR and it's a light hand trap, so this is the best hand trap in the game. You can use on both turns. The 3 legal Crusadia monsters, 3 blue sky, 3 purple nightfall. Obviously these are the best Mekk-Knights. 2 Indigo Eclipse, 1 red moon, 1 yellow star, 6 kaijus, the 1 Nibiru from the bundle, just 1 Harpy Feather Duster, generic, going second. I figure most people should have a copy of this, but if you don't, it's fine. You just replace it with any other staple you have. The 3 Pot of Desires, so obviously this is kind of room filler for other UR staples, but this card is actually nice because it's just a card that you can set to produce a column for your Mekk-Knights, and then you can activate it in this later after you summon your Mekk-Knight to get value out of it, and you just draw 2 cards, and it's fine. The important cards you run at 3, and then you can often get Indigo Eclipse, and you can search World Legacy Secrets before you activate Desires. So then these 2 Mekk-Knights aren't the least important ones. You don't really need them as part of your game plan, but and the World Legacy Memory, obviously you run this at 3. This is just the E-Telly for the deck. Secession is it's a searchable monster reborn. It's hard once per turn, so you don't need more than 1. You don't really need to hard draw it. The 1 Lightning Storm is from the bundle. Then Called by the Grave, in case this is a tier heavy meta or branded. I think a lot of people are underestimating branded, so you probably won't see too much branded unless my video blows up for some reason. But yeah, a lot of dark decks do get hit by this even when going second. Then the 2 World Legacy Secrets for call and control if you fail to OTK your opponent. And Crusadia Crawler, this is just a search off Regulex. It's just another card. If you realize that you can't kill your opponent, you search this off Regulex, and this is another card that produces a column for you, and you can summon it to any other column. And it gets you a follow-up with searches another World Legacy Memory on the next turn, for your next turn. The extra deck, this is not needed. It's just Gamma. It's just something you make with Gamma when you high roll it on your turn, but that probably never will happen. Zeus is just for the rank 8 Xyz that you can go into like 1 every 10 games, but again, not necessary. But then again, it's Zeus, so most people have Zeus anyways. Abramax and Spectrum Supreme, you can go into these, but most of the time you're going to go into these links. You're going to go into this most often because this with 2 monsters including the Mekk-Knight, it searches any Mekk-Knight monster or World Legacy card. Oftentimes you're going to search either World Legacy Secret or Memory if you need an extender. And Lib, World Key Blade Master. So you make this when you activate World Legacy's Memory. That way you have a World Legacy card in your graveyard. So that means when you can link summon this. You need a World Legacy monster in your grave to link summon this. And when you do, you can set a World Legacy spell trap directly from your deck. So you can set Secret or Succession. And then link this off. And when this gets linked off, you can shuffle a card non-targeting to the deck. So yeah, that's a Board Breaker plus Searcher that gets you an extender or follow-up for next turn. So you run 2 of these. You probably don't even need 3 Mekk-Knight at the Morning Knight, but again, you don't really need much for the extra deck. Crusadia 2 Echomax. This is a line where you can just kill your opponent if you... It's really easy if you have a Kaiju, because you can just summon this below the Kaiju to get an easy 3300 attack boost. And with Crusadia Maximus, it inflicts double any battle damage. Yeah, this inflicts double battle damage for your Echomax. So if you access Maximus during your combo, like Link Climbing through Magia's Regulix, then you can go. Then you have an Echomax pointing to a Kaiju, so that's a 3300 boost, and then you have 2 monsters, probably a Mekk-Knight or 2 that it also points to. So this can easily be upwards of, let's say, about 10k attack or close to 10k attack. And then if you tribute a Maximus, that's doubles the battle damage, so that's game right there. And is there anything else that's important to note? Oh, yeah, so Mekk-Knight and Morning Knight had... I know most people have not read this card, especially the bottom part of this text, but its bottom part is if your Mekk-Knight monster battles a monster in a different column, your monster cannot be destroyed by that battle. So every single person in the game is going to misplay around this. You're going to have a World Legacy Secrets activated with an Indigo Eclipse that can just shift itself, and then you have a Mekk-Knight at the Morning Light up. If your opponent has never played against this deck before with the deck they're currently playing, they're not going to be able to navigate that correctly, because they're going to try to summon in different columns and then attack over you, and then realize they can't kill your monsters. But they're not going to summon in the same column, because if they do, they're just going to get negated by World Legacy Secret. So yeah, it's some really humorous game states that your opponent's gonna be like what the hell am I doing here? And as I mentioned before, if you own any of these staples drastically improve the deck. So Change of Heart, Mind Control, more Lightning Storm Tactics, more copies of Nibiru, and Effect Veiler. These are all cards that help you go second. They're not attached to the core at all, so there's a high chance that if you craft staples as you play through the game, that you might have these, and if you do, then you can just slot them in or filler cards like Desires, or maybe Call by the Grave. Maybe you can cut down the number of Kaijus if you run more hand traps, and so on. And you'll never lose a Dyro with this, so give it a shot. And if you own branded Despia cards, I obviously have a deck profile for that and for this event too. So if you want to play that, check it out here.